Hi there, it's Peggy McColl, and welcome back to the Manifestation Podcast. Today we're going to talk about the top secrets of every successful author. Whether you're an author or not, you will benefit from what you're going to hear in this podcast. So don't dismiss this idea and think, oh, that doesn't refer to me, because what I'm going to talk about are the secrets to success in any endeavor. Now, of course, I am an author. I'm the author of several books, 18 in fact, at the time of this recording. But I want to talk to you about what could potentially happen for you in your life when you make a decision that you're going to move forward and write your book. Maybe it's your first book. Maybe it's your next book. Now, when I decided way back when, we're going 20 years ago, back in time 20 years ago, when I made the decision to write my first book, I did not have the support of others encouraging me to move forward with this endeavor. As a matter of fact, when I told my parents I was writing a book, their response was the following: You're writing a book? And it wasn't said with love or support. It was said as a sarcastic kind of comment. Now, I don't know where that came from, and it is what it is, and I didn't get all bent out of shape about it at the time because I didn't allow it to hold me back. And that's the first lesson that I want to share with you, that it does not have to hold you back, or you do not have to hold yourself back because of what someone else has said. Now, they may be well-meaning. They may have had good intentions. But the fact is that if you want to do something, go for it. Do not let someone else to hold you back. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is do not let fear hold you back either. One of the things that I hear quite often from authors, because I've worked with thousands of authors, they've become my clients over the past 20 years. One of the things that I found is a lot of people are afraid of what other people will say, or they're afraid of criticism about their writing or criticism about their book or negative comments. Well, I heard this many years ago. The higher you rise, the more people will throw stones at you. And I thought about that when I first heard it, and I thought, wow, that's a fascinating idea, but it's true. Think about anyone who's in politics or actors, actresses, singers, performers, anyone that's in the public eye, athletes as an example. There are many people that are huge fans, but there are also people who are critics. There are critics everywhere in the world. So even as an author, the more successful you are, the more likely there will be critics out there. So here's what I suggest as it relates to that. Do not care what others think about you. When you do your work and when you bring the best of yourself to the marketplace, in other words, you put everything you've got into producing something that's quality, what does it matter what anyone thinks? Many years ago, I read a great book, and the book was written by a lady by the name of Terry Cole Whitaker, and the title of the book was the following: What You Think of Me is None of My Business. And the message of that book is very obvious. It doesn't matter what other people think of you. It simply doesn't matter. What's most important is how do you feel about yourself. And if insecurity is there, or you're not feeling really confident about who you are, that's okay, because you can build it. Because confidence is simply a muscle that you can build. So that would be my second lesson that I want to share with you. And the other one is to set some goals for what you would love to accomplish. For example, if you are intending to write a book, and that's what we're talking about here, successful ideas and successful tips for authors and from authors, and of course from a New York Times bestselling author. But every time I have approached a book or written a book, I set clear objectives. What would I love? And that's a great place to start. What would I love? What would you love to accomplish by writing a book? Would you love to complete it? Would you love to have your book translated into multiple languages? My books are in 37 languages. Would you love to be on the New York Times bestseller list? I've accomplished that. Would you love your book to be all over the world and sold in over 100 countries? I've done that. So what is it that you would love? So my suggestion is set some outcomes. And perhaps one of the outcomes that you set as an author is that you would love to be earning money, and maybe a lot of money. And perhaps you could set some goals around that. Let's say that you would love to earn $1 million from the sales of your book in the next year, as an example. Well, what you do with goals is you set the goal and you write it out as if it's already happened. Because the most effective way that you can manifest your goals into physical form is by imagining and connecting to the outcome that you desire now as if it's already been accomplished. Now, those are more overall goals, or general ideas or tips for success. But if you're seriously thinking about writing a book, I'm going to give you some more tips on how to be a successful author, even if you don't think you're a great writer. Now, I wouldn't consider myself the greatest writer. I believe I've become a better writer because I've decided to commit myself to that outcome, and I've done the work in studying what makes a great writer. Also, something that you need to know, this is a really valuable secret to success, is all great authors are also readers. They're readers, avid readers, because the more you read, the more you are absorbing wonderful materials that are actually giving you an understanding of how to write effectively. Another thing that I suggest that you do is affirm that you are a great writer. I am a fabulous writer, but really believe it. Don't just utter the words for the sake of uttering the words. Utter the words with emotion, like really feel, I'm a great writer. I'm a successful author. You've got to build that belief system within you. And it may take time, but what I found is that when you invest the time and you blend it with the emotion, you're going to be really glad that you did, because you can write great stuff. So when an author gets inspired to write a book, where the idea typically comes from is a desire. Because desire is like the fuel. It's going to be the fuel that's going to keep you going as well. So when I decided to write a book, I had a desire to write the book. Now, what's the reason behind it? You can think about this as well. What's the reason behind why you would want to write a book? Well, the reason that I had, or my initial reason for writing my first book, was because I wanted to provide a reader and people with a clear, simple understanding of how to create your destiny. So my very, very first book was written in what I call layman's terms, easy to understand language that can help anyone understand how they are creative and how they are showing up in their life and how they can create even better results. So every book has a reason behind it. They all have like a fundamental message behind it. That's for nonfiction books, but fiction books typically have one message as well. And that can be a great starting point for you writing your book. I recently completed another book called The Demand Principle. And The Demand Principle was a book that I decided to write based on a quote that I learned from Napoleon Hill. And the quote goes like this: "Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Riches come in response to definite demands based upon the application of definite principles and not by chance or luck." When I heard that quote for the umpteenth time, I decided that I'm going to write about something called the demand principle. This is a little bit different than anything you've ever read before. So I got on with the work, I did the research, and then the next thing that I did, and this is a wonderful secret to creating your amazing book, is I thought about all the content, all the topics or subjects that I would want to write about, and I created a list in an organized fashion. And once I had that list created, I knew I had the basis of a phenomenal book. And then I got on with the work. But before I actually got on with the work, I set a deadline for when I would get the book done. Now, I have written books over the years. My very first book I wrote in a month. So I started writing that book in the month of October, and I made a decision that I would complete that book by the end of October. So what did I do? Well, I set the intention that the book would be completed in a month, and then I set up a writing schedule. I would get up earlier in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and I would write for a minimum of an hour. And I did this from Monday to Friday. The reason why I didn't do it on the weekend is because I wanted to ensure I was investing quality time with my son. I was a single mom at that time. Now, I didn't know whether I'd be able to get the book done in a month by doing that, but you know something? I did, and I was glad that I did. And once I finished my part, and my part was the writing part, then I went on to go to the editor. Now, I remember a number of years ago being invited by a publisher to write a book that was part of a series. And so this publisher had reached out to me, and they asked me if I would write a book called 99 Things You Wish You Knew Before Marketing on the Internet. And I accepted the challenge. But they never gave me a due date. They didn't tell me when they wanted the manuscript submitted. Well, without a due date, typically things don't get done unless you set one. I didn't know when they wanted the manuscript. So one day late in October, this is a different October, a different year, one day late in October, I received a phone call from the publisher. And I was traveling. They called me on my cell phone. I was doing speaking engagements. And they called me and they asked me if I could submit the manuscript within a 2-week period. So I said, sure, I'm happy to. So I flew back home to let my husband know that I'm planning on writing a book in a weekend. Well, he informed me that his 2 aunts and uncles were coming that weekend. Now, fortunately, they didn't arrive till Saturday afternoon, so on Friday, I did all the grocery shopping and I planned the meals because I'm the cook in the house, and then on Saturday morning, I got up and I did the outline for the book. And on Sunday morning, I woke up at 3 in the morning, and I just went straight into my office. I was feeling refreshed. I had had enough sleep, so I went in my office and I demanded of myself to write a chapter every hour. Now, I had never done that before, but I had written a number of books before that, and I decided I would write a chapter an hour. And after the first hour, I had a chapter done. And then I sat down and thought, oh, okay, good. I'm going to get the next chapter done. And I wrote another chapter. And an hour later, I decided I'm going to write another chapter. Well, by that afternoon, I was ready to do a head plant on my desk because I was feeling pretty tired. So I got up. I went for a walk outside, I came back, and I sat down at my desk and almost forced myself, but it wasn't forced in a negative way. It was just like a determination. I was holding the idea with my will, and I kept diligently working away in my office. 9 o'clock that evening, the book was written. So I essentially wrote that book in a day. I did the outline on Saturday morning, but I did all the writing on Sunday. So Sunday night, 9 o'clock, my book was completed, and then I sent it off to the editor. I ended up submitting that book 2 days early because I disciplined myself to get that book done in a short period of time. So if you're listening to this, you're probably hearing that when you set a goal, when you discipline yourself to get the work done, it's amazing what you can accomplish. You know, a lot of people don't have any idea what you can accomplish. There's always so much more that we can do with our work. All right. Now, let's talk about what you can do beyond the writing part, the potential part of earning money, of creating a real presence in the world, of contributing to other people in only a positive way. When I had written my first book, because I was new to the author industry and really didn't have a guide or a mentor that was showing me the way or offering me advice to help me create success in my life, I was really stumbling around in the dark. And if you've ever had that experience of stumbling around in the dark, what you probably are aware of is that you can get hurt, right? You can trip and you can fall and you can bump into things. And And that's where I was with my very, very first book. But I was so committed to creating success that I decided I'm going to do whatever it takes, as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral, to create success in my life. I was so devoted to the outcome that I desired. So what did I do? I decided to find someone that I could learn from, someone that knew how to get results. And that, my friends, is what I found to be an extreme secret to success and a shortcut to success as well. And that is, find someone who's produced the results that you desire and learn from them. So I had gone to a book marketing conference, and this conference was put on by a good friend of mine, Mark Victor Hansen. Now, Mark Victor Hansen is the co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And of course, his success of what he created with his books has been written up in the Guinness Book of World Records. He knows what he's talking about. So I had gone to this weekend event where all these different speakers, other authors, were talking about how to create success in your life. And I was in the front row, pen, paper, taking notes like crazy. I was so into absorbing all this information and then following through with it when I got back home. One of the speakers was a gentleman by the name of Jerry Jenkins. And Jerry has become a friend of mine as well. And Jerry Jenkins runs a book publishing company out of Traverse City, Michigan. And Jerry got on stage and he said the following. He said, if you're an author and you've written and published your book, 5% of the job is done. And I remember hearing that and thinking right away, I had the thought, did I just hear him correctly? And then Jerry went on to say, if you think you didn't hear me correctly, let me repeat myself. If you are an author and you have written a book, 5% of the job is done. And I thought, wow, to me at that time, it felt like I had done a lot of work to complete the book. But then he went on to say 95% of an author's success is in the marketing. You need to learn how to effectively market your book. And that's what I dedicated my life to. Learn how to effectively market my book. But not only learn how to effectively market my book, learn how to effectively market myself, my ideas, my business, my programs, my services. And it has served me extremely well. So when I got back from that conference, I got on with the work and I started implementing these wonderful strategies that I had learned. And I've never looked back. And that is another key to success. You must implement these ideas if you ever want to create success. Now, I will say that there is a wonderful quote by Martin Luther King Jr., and it goes something like this, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have the quote directly in front of me. And it goes something like this: you do not have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Now, what does that really mean? It means that when people set goals and they start moving toward their goal, many people, successful people, never know what the exact steps are that they're going to take to get them to where they want to go. You do have to set the goal, you do have to move in the right direction, and then trust. You've got to trust in the knowing that whatever is required in order for you to create success will be revealed to you when you stay committed to the outcome as if it's already done. Every time I've written a book and published a book or released a book, I've always set outcomes for what I intend to create with that book. Some of them have come true. Some of them have surpassed my wildest dreams. Some of them didn't quite make the mark, but I know this: you must set the goals and move forward with faith, knowing that you're going to accomplish everything that you set for yourself. And you've got to get out of your own way. So many people have paradigms that are blocking them. Every everyone has paradigms. Paradigms are simply belief systems that are determining everything that you're thinking, everything that you're saying, everything that you're feeling, all of your habits, all of your behaviors. So what you want to do as part of this process of creating success as an author or in any endeavor in your life is to really pay attention to the paradigms that you need to build and believe and have in order to create the success that you desire to create in your life. And you know something? This may seem like a lot, and there's a few moving parts or moving pieces to success, but this is what I know after 41 years of studying success, of implementing success, is that it really is rather simple. It is simple, but you've got to do the work, and you've got to be devoted and dedicated to your outcomes and really be in a place of constant improvement, because when you do, your results are going to transpire in your life, and you're going to find that things are going to get better and better and better. So if you've thought or haven't thought about writing a book, I suggest that you do, because writing a book can bring so much good into your life, so much value. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to have a great sense of accomplishment as well. But not only that, you're going to make an impact in the world. And by following through with the disciplines and by really being dedicated to your success, it's going to have a positive ripple effect in your life and perhaps financially as well. So I want to encourage you to follow through, to do the work today, to not let another day go by where your dreams are being put on a back burner. Bring them front and center. Really get connected to what you would love to create in your life and take some action today. All right, that's a wrap for today's Manifestation podcast. And if you love this message, please leave us a 5-star review and make sure that you check in and listen for the next Manifestation podcast. We are dedicated and determined to bring you only great value that's going to help you in your life, help you manifest every good that you desire to create in your life.